Hello everyone and welcome to my coloring corner. Today is Thursday and it's time for a new book and a new set of pencils in our lessons. Now, when choosing a new set of pencils, definitely pull out your swatch charts, take a look at what you have, and take a look at what your picture is going to need. I went with a larger set this time. It is still a budget-friendly set. And it is the Brute Funer squares. The ones I'm going to use are the ones with the Asian lettering on them. So it's an older set. If you have a newer set, your set will have English um, names on them. They are the same pencils. They are just in a different order as well as a couple of different number changes. So I will try to make sure that I tell you both the English version as well as the Chinese version so that if you are using the English version that came out that is on the market now, you will still be able to find the same colors and that sort of thing. The book I chose because a lot of people have been asking how to do glass and how to do reflections and how to do water and that sort of thing. The book I chose is from Creative Haven. It's Wish You Were Here by Teresa Goodridge. Teresa Goodridge is a fantastic artist, a very realistic artist. So she draws a lot of things that she sees in her daily life as well as in her travels and that sort of thing. So this is all different travels from that she has had from around the world, and she has drawn them in her book. So the page that we're going to do is this page here because it does have a lot of elements in it of glass, of reflection, of shadow, of skyline, everything like that that we're going to be touching on a little bit. Now, this is one of the pages that has a larger area of glass, so it's going to be one that gives you a little bit more information on how to do glass with liquids in it, as well as how to do glass without liquids in it. It also has that river on it, which is going under the bridge, so we'll have the shadowing from the bridge. It is a moving water, so it's not going to have a lot of reflection, but it is going to have shadows like under the birds, under the bridge, and that sort of thing. Now, it also has near and far, so it is also going to give you a dimensional information as well. So this page has a lot of different lessons and different things that you have to look at when you're looking at what pencils to use. So the first thing I look at is how many or what colors am I going to need? Will I be able to do this with a 24, 48, 72, 120, 240 set of pencils? I do think that a 72 to 120 pencils can definitely do this page. I would not suggest doing it much smaller than that, but that's only because I like to add a lot of different colors. I have plenty of sets that are above the 120, so I can look at this and say, okay, I can do this without any sort of blending colors together with several of my sets. I don't expect you to be able to do that. Honestly, not very many people have the pencil addiction that I do. I have a horrible pencil addiction. I love all pencils. Pencils are my friends, and they don't yeah, they just keep on coming. And they keep on coming on the market with new ones. How do you expect me not to get new ones? My goodness. People say I have a very uh, that I'm a hoarder. And I'm not. I'm a collector. I want all the pencils. So the difference between the two different pencil sets, this is the new ones that are in English. This is the old ones that are in the Chinese. The Brutfuner square sets are a very lovely set of pencils. They are a softer pencil, pretty much like the ones that we were just using. However, these ones are a touch harder. So they're going to blend just as well, but they're also going to layer a lot easier. They are a square pencil. Let me see if I can pull one out without breaking my nails. And this is why I don't normally get my nails done, because I'm always worried about breaking them. So the Asian ones will have the name in Asian, the number, as well as Brutfuner. The English ones have the name as well as the number and in Brutfuner, but the name here is in English. I, I personally like the Asian ones, the Asian names better than the English ones, but the pencils themselves are all the same. All right, so we're going to get started on this area here. Now, another thing that a lot of people ask me, especially with busy pages like this, is where do you start? What gives you the information to start where you're going to start? So I'm going to give you a little bit of back history for myself. Not a lot of people know this. I don't usually throw my health information out there a whole lot. I do mention it if asked, but I don't usually throw it out there a whole lot. I was diagnosed with a visual disorder a couple of years ago. When I started coloring, actually, the doctor had diagnosed me with glaucoma. I used to do cross stitching, and the glaucoma got so bad that I couldn't see what I was doing. So I stopped doing that. And when I stopped doing that, I started getting very depressed because I didn't have anything to occupy myself other than housework and that sort of thing. But I didn't have anything just for me. So my mom suggested adult coloring and told me that she had started doing it and it was very relaxing and fun to do. So I was out with my husband in the RV when he bought me an adult coloring book and a set of pencils. The set of pencils he bought me were watercolor pencils. Um, and I did not know this at the time. But later I got some Crayolas and so forth. So I ended up doing a lot of coloring in that book as well as, other books as they came in. And that's where my pencil addiction started because I really didn't like the Crayolas. So I went on the search for a budget-friendly, better set of pencils. However, back to why I'm telling you this. Um, my glaucoma had gotten to a point where I have no peripheral vision anymore. So when you have a large page or lots of details, it's really hard for me to focus on the entire page. So I have found that if I break down the page into small square areas, it gives me the ability to see the entire page a lot better. Since adult coloring, I have found that my eyes have gotten stronger and I can actually see and focus on an entire page now, where before I would only be able to focus on the center area wherever my vision was looking at the time. So that got me into the habit of breaking down each page into sections of 4 so that I could see areas. Sometimes I do 4, sometimes I do 5, sometimes I do it this way, but as long as I break it down into smaller areas where I can see where to start, where to finish, it doesn't become as daunting. I started doing that a lot more with things like Kirby Roseanne, Teresa Goodridge, because her pages are very busy, and things like that Tatiana Bogoma, you know, things like that where the pages are very full and very busy with different movements in the page. So if you need to break down your pages to see where you're going to start, then do so. If you need to use a ruler and a pencil to break those down for yourself so that you have a visual breakdown of the pages, then do so. A little bit of pencil on your page is not going to hurt it. You can gently erase it afterwards as you get to that part, that sort of thing. So I do strongly suggest breaking down your pages. Where you start is up to you, whatever makes you more comfortable. I know some people that start at the upper left. I know some people that start in the center. I know some people that start at the bottom and work their way up, work their way down, that sort of thing. Whatever is most comfortable for you is how you should do that breakdown. But I do find with really busy pages, breaking things down into smaller sections removes that daunting task of covering the entire picture. All right, so with that, we're going to start coloring. We're going to start with, where's our swatch chart? We're going to start on the water areas here. So I'm going to show you how to do underneath here. I know we've already shown water on the last video, but I want to do some water just to get you secure with doing the shadows and that sort of thing. We're going to start with number 87. Okay, if I can get it out of. I've got got them in a new pencil case, so they're a little bit harder to get in and out. So number 7 is Butterfly Lovers in your English set. So this one here, and we're going to come in underneath this area here. Now these are an oil-based pencil, so they are a harder pencil. They are a layering pencil. The Coloria that we used last time is a wax-based pencil, which is more of a smushing type of pencil where you can build that color up. These are a softer pencil than most oil-based pencils, but they are still an oil-based pencil. And if I zoom you in, that would probably make it a little bit easier to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to zoom you in, so if you get motion sickness, look away. All right. Another reason why I break it down into sections is it makes it easier for me to zoom into a section and not go off page. So this is just our starting color. So we've got the shadow there from the bridge there. Now we're going to put the shadow in here. I'm trying to do it so that I don't cover things with my hands. So I do find that I, especially when I'm zoomed in, end up covering the areas that I'm coloring with my hand. Wish I was as flexible as Amazon Tammy when it comes to that. If you have not seen her channel, check her out. Her channel name is Amazon Tammy, and she is an Australian. And her colorings are just absolutely gorgeous. And she's very very nonchalant with her coloring. she will say that she's not the greatest and that she's just throwing color at the page, but it's like, oh my goodness. And we've got shadow here. So I'm following the lines that the artist has put in, doing the areas that has the most densest lines with the darkest color, because those are going to be our shadow areas under the ducks here, under the bridge, in front of the bridge, you know, that sort of thing. Because our sky is behind the bridge and behind the tower, everything in front of it is going to put a shadow on this water. So pretty much everything. And then under here is going to be very shadowed, so we're going to come in here a little bit darker. Now, the one good thing about these books is that the pages are perforated. So if you don't like coloring in a book, especially if you don't like the feel of the book behind your page, you can tear it out. So that's what we're going to do, because I am not liking the way the pencils are feeling on the page. Just be careful when you're tearing it out that you don't tear the page too much. So I'm going to just tear that out. And that gives me a solid surface behind it, which gives me the ability to make that darker. I don't know why I have issues when it comes to making things darker on soft areas, but I do. So this is the one thing I'm going to say today on how to do different things like Teresa Goodridge's pages or any other artist that does line art especially. Um, Grayscale is much easier to follow, but line art still gives you a lot of clues on where she wants you to put that color, where she would have put that color, where she sees those shadows. And you just have to follow those clues. Like, for example, this one here, it's showing the highlights, that the areas that are going to show that it's a glass through the glass. This area here is showing that there's a shadow here, here, and here. You know, the water is showing shadows all the way up to here and here. And now you don't have to do those shadows all in the same color. I'm just putting down a base coat of this blue, and then we're going to come back into it with some greens and some other colors, because this is a larger body of water and it's a moving river. We want to put some of that color in there. But these areas here show the shadows from everything that's on the pier as well as on the bridge and that sort of thing. Now I'm not going to come down here. We're going to stick with what's in the middle there. So the next one that we're going to use, I'm going to put that there because I'm going to need it again, is number 39. Just make sure that's the same number. Yes, it's the same number. And number 39 is Blue Jay. And I'm going to turn you slightly. And we're going into that darker blue. And we're going to come out of it a little bit. So this area here has water behind it. So we're just going to put that in. On the edge there. The rest of it will put in some greens and that sort of thing. But we're just going to put the water color gently behind it there. And I'm going over this fairly lightly. I'm bringing that color blend out a bit. Sometimes we need to do an area and then move on to another area so that you don't get completely bored with what I'm coloring. But I want to go step by step with you because it is something that is a process. And if I skip around a whole lot, I know it's boring to be coming through and doing the same thing that I did last time. But this is a different picture. It's got different movements. It's got different colors. It's got different water, that sort of thing. So coming through and showing you a different way to do water is going to give you a lot more information on how to shadow it, how to do that sort of thing. So again, I'm coming through and I'm going to do this whole area here, even though the lines are looser in this area. I will be coming back through with that dark blue and darkening up some of those areas because I don't think it went down dark enough. Now, the one thing that I will always suggest is with any pencil set is the lighter your hand, the better. You can add more color. It's a little bit more difficult to take it away. So the lighter your hand, the better, sorry. So of course, if you have a heavier hand, don't hold your pencil like I do way down at the bottom. Hold your pencil further back so that you can get that light layer without putting too much weight on the pencil. Holding back way back here gives you very little ability to put that weight on the pencil. It basically makes you lighten your hand a little bit. All right. So that's the next color. The next color after that is going to be number 30. In the originals. And let's see, is it number yes, so this is Harbor Blue. All right, I'm going to turn you slightly so I can get into the deep areas here. This is going to be our darker color. Giving us that darker green blue color. We're still working on the shadow areas. First of all. Going through with a little bit heavier of a hand and blending that into those really deep areas quite heavily. And as we come out, we lighten up. And come through here with a little bit of a lighter touch, blending in between those areas there. Now where I want it dark, I'm going to push down a little bit harder. And then where I want it lighter, I'm going to lift my hand. Another tool that I do suggest that you keep very handy, especially when doing a lot of layers, is your brush. So make sure that you have your brush at hand. It can be any brush. It can be a makeup brush. It can be an artist brush. It could be a paint brush. The brush is necessary so you don't wipe your hand across your page and drag that color around. You will get little crumbles, especially if you're heavy-handed, and you don't want those crumbles being dragged into areas that you don't want it to have that color. Because, like I said, it's easy to add color, not so easy to remove it sometimes. And when you are pushing harder, like I am doing, I am putting a little bit more pressure on the pencil. So a little bit more of that color is going to come off than in other areas where I didn't put as much pressure. Put some deeper shadows up against the shoreline there. I'm lightening my hand as I come out to the edge. I'll put a little bit of shadow in, a heavier shadow in here. Hopefully I'm not off screen. Okay, and dust that off. And then the next color we're going to use is number 47, which is, actually we're going to use number 55 first. Now this is another really deep color. And this is number 55 for the English version is Deep Lagoon. And I'm going to sharpen this because it is a deep lagoon. So now, because it is a square pencil, I do find that the crank sharpeners work better for them. There's very few hand sharpeners that are big enough to put the square pencils into. Now this is the final color I'm going to use in these really dark, heavy areas, such as under the bridge. It will appear quite dark and give it that heavy shadow look, but still make it look like water. Put this under the birds as well. All right. All right, so that's the last color I'm going to use under the bridge. We'll use other colors as we come out. The first one that we're going to use as we come off of those shadows is number 47, which is Arcadia. Both sets are the same color. I'm trying to choose colors that are the same color for both sets, so if you do have the newer set, you're not going to be lost. So I'm just coming off of that dark color from where the shadows are and bringing that in to the rest of the water. And I'm lightening my hand as I come off of the shadowed areas. I'm not worried about the ducks because I am going to color them in with a black pencil. So they're not going to have color. They're just going to be silhouetted. That's another thing we're going to talk about is how to silhouette things. It's not difficult. And once we get down to the glasses is where we're going to stop, and that will be our next lesson. So the lesson today is how to gradually build that watercolor to reflect the fact that it is a river, that there is shadows in that river as well as highlights from our peaking sun back there. So it is a cloudy day, but it's not a dark day. There's people out walking their dogs, there's people out having a picnic. So that tells you that even though it is a cloudy day, it's still a warm spring day. So we're going to give the skyline that warm spring color. Now I haven't done anything down in this bottom area here of the water, and I will do that as we get to this part. The reason why I haven't done that is because we're going to do some reflections of that in the glass. Because the glass is translucent, we want that that water to show through, but we still want it to look like glass. And we'll deal with that on the next lesson. All right, so the next color we're going to use is number 38. And make sure it's number 38 for this, yes, which is sky blue. Again, I'm going to sharpen my pencil. Sorry about the vibration. And we're going to come off of that green blue. And we're going to come into the water. Putting a little bit more pressure into the edge just to get that to blend together. Like so. And like I said, you can always add more, but you can't take away. So I'm just going to go around the objects on the picnic table for now. At the top here, we're going to be working at that bottom level of water on next week's lesson. For right now, we're just getting that background water filled in and worked out because we've got some highlights and we've got some shadows and that sort of thing that we need to put in there to show the skyline as well as the objects that are in nature's way, so to speak. All right, so we're just going to color this area in here. Like so. All right, now we're going to take our white and some yellows. Well, I'm going to use a yellow green, so we're going to use number 66, which is Firefly Light in the Asian and Canary Yellow in the English. So this is the same color in both languages. So all right. Now we're going to start adding the light from our sun there. So it's going to be fractured by this area here as well as that area there. So we're going to put that light in. Showing that sunlight hitting the water. And the lighter areas where your hand was the lightest, of course it's going to show more of that light. All right. And there will be more light coming down through here because it's further away from those things. So we're going to get more light, more of that sunlight hitting the water down here than up there. And definitely not going to have a lot hitting back there. And then we're going to take a little bit of white, which will give us that extra bit of highlight in the areas that the sun isn't directly touching, but is going to be moving, which will reflect the light on its own. So we're going to take some white and we're going to do some reflective light there. I'm not sure if this white will give us what we want. We may have to go with a Prisma white. The Prisma white is very opaque, where some of the other whites that you get in a set aren't as opaque. So that's why sometimes I go with a Prisma white, because it gives me that whiteness. You can also go with a gel pen and just smudge it in, which will give you that white as well. All right, we're going to go with a bit of a Prisma white here. Make sure I've got the Prisma. Just because it's a lot more opaque. And I'm going to get more of that white in there where I want it. Right next to the yellow. And this way as well. All right, like so. Now we're going to just touch up little areas, make sure that we have the proper shadow levels in there. So we're going to touch this up just a little bit with number 55. Just going to drag that out. Because even though the sun is hitting it, it's moving water. So with the movement of the water, there's a bit of a shadow that it creates. A darkness in the depths. So we need to put that darkness in, even though we know that there's going to be some reflection of the sunshine on top of it. We still have to show that depth. Now, with a lot of water areas, especially if you have wave lines, that sort of thing, I will put a white gel pen over the wave lines. But because this is just showing us where the depth of the water is, I'm not going to put any wave lines on it. We're going to show the waves and that sort of thing with more of the yellow as well as the white, which will give us that highlight of the wave. Like I said, if you do find that your white pencil isn't giving you the effect that you want, you can come back through with a gel pen or a Posca pen, an acrylic marker, that sort of thing later on, and add those white, really stark white areas as you go. All right, so that's the lesson for today. Um, Basically, your practice, pardon me, my brain just went blip. Your practice for the week is to practice on the water, get your shadows in, your highlights in, that sort of thing. Don't worry about coming below this line here. If you do want to come below that line, do not color around or like into the glasses yet. You can come straight down to about here and that sort of thing. Put in your shadows, your highlights, as well as your light reflection. So your light reflection, your light source, that's the other thing that we're going to talk about on that we should have talked about today. Is the previous pictures, you were the light source. Now in this picture, you have a dedicated light source. Your light source is that sun. So with that dedicated light source, you're looking at, so we've got a shadow here from the cloud. So our light source is going to be coming down from here in that direction, in this direction. In all directions, because it's a round ball, it's a sphere, it will come into all of those directions. However, it's going to be lighter, less light in this area here and this area here. The highest density of light is going to be coming from this area up here. So if we take that area up there and we put it down here and so forth, is where you're going to see that yellow. We're going to have, of course, highlights on the side of the bridge here from, or not the bridge, the tower, from that sunshine, as well as the tops of the trees, that sort of thing. And we will get to that when we get up into that area. For now, we've got a cloud overlay, so we've got a little bit of light that is going to come down onto the basket of food, as well as, that sort of thing. But right now I want you to concentrate on your water and the lights coming off of that sun and the color coming off of that sun into your water. Now, like I said, I have used this one here, which is number 66, and in the new set it's called Canary Yellow in the English set. So number 66 will give you that yellow color, but it also gives you a bit of a green undertone, which blends into that blue, very blue-green, very nicely. So don't be afraid to experiment. If you want to put some red in there for the sun, if it's setting, that sort of thing, don't be shy and do what you want to do in your water. Basically, I have added the colors that I would typically add into the areas because of the light source that I have. So I'm coming in through here with that white just to darken it up or brighten it up a little bit in that area, because that light source is coming right down onto it, but it's got a shadow, so I don't want that bright color there. And it gives that water reflection kind of look as well. It gives me that ability to show the water being reflected by that light, or the light being reflected by the water, I should say. Yeah, I'm jumbling my words, sorry. So use your white. If you don't have a Prisma white, a regular white will work. You just have to press a little bit harder or leave some of that white paper in those areas so that when you do go over it with the white, it gives you that nice white area. That is one of the reasons why I use that lightest color um, in those areas, because even though it gives a little bit of a tinge of color, the white does cover it very nicely and blend that in. So number 38 is what I used in those areas, and the white does cover it up really nicely and blend into that so that we're not having that really bright blue in those areas. All right, guys, so that is the lesson for today. Your practice work for the week is to do the water. That will give you some practice from the last lesson as well as this lesson. Now, the one thing I don't want you to do that I did do in the last lesson was go over those lines and the movement lines with your white gel pen. You do not need to do that in this lesson. It is a different type of water. It's a different type of movement. So we're not going to do that. I do want you to give the highlights in between the shadows and in between the movements from the light source that we have, which is, of course, our sun. So do up to the edge of the water if you feel comfortable doing so. If you don't feel comfortable doing so, do up to where I have done, and we will continue from there. Now, if you do feel comfortable with finishing the water off, do not go over your glass areas unless you feel comfortable in doing so. I will be going through and showing you what I do with the background through the glass of the bottles as well as the wine glasses here. All right, so that is going to be the next lesson. We will do that, and then we're going to do more on shadows. As you know, we've done a lot on shadows, but 90% of your coloring is going to be highlights and shadows, where you see the darkest colors, where you see the lightest colors, because that's just the nature of everything that we do. Colors are different on one area compared to another area because of our shadows and our light sources. So if we don't touch on that on every picture, then we're coloring things flat. And I don't like coloring things flat. I prefer to have that dimension in everything I color. So I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record when I'm talking about where we're going to put the shadows, where we're going to put the light, where we're going to put the highlights and that sort of thing. It's because everything we look at, everything we see has dimension because of highlights and shadows. All right, guys, with that, always remember to like, comment, and subscribe to any YouTube artists that you enjoy. Make sure you get out there and look around. There's a lot of different people out there that I have learned from throughout the years and that I think you can benefit from. People such as Amazon Tammy, Shannon, which is Color and Craft with Shanny Blue. Emily Illustrator is a fantastic individual that can basically do anything possible with a feather touch. She has a very light palette as well as a very light touch. Um, things like that. So, oh, there was another one. Blue Canary, no, Black Canary is another one that uses a lot of those dark, rich colors to do her shadows, to do her coloring with. Um, there's so many out there that have a lot of color with Claire is another one. that has some beautiful techniques that will help you enhance your coloring as well. So many out there. So make sure you look around. Find somebody that you enjoy, um, and somebody that is going to give you an experience when you're learning or while you're coloring. Um, I'm not saying leave mine because I like you all. I want you to stay. But there are other people out there as well that can enhance what I am teaching you, and what I have learned. So my knowledge is not infinite. I I I learn just the same way you guys do, by finding somebody I'm comfortable with and by learning from them. I also learn by experimenting on my own and that sort of thing. But we will talk about experimentation in one of the next few lessons. All right, guys, with that, always remember to relax, color, and stay safe, everyone. Until next time, bye bye for now.